Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I hope you're all having a good day. I'll give a second for everyone to click on here with us. Thanks. I'm excited for our mixed media sample pack session today. We're going to be playing with some embossing powders. So I hope you got the prep sheet for this session, kind of some of the materials. If you want to craft along with us, no big deal. If you want to just sit back, relax, and watch. And if you missed the first 3 videos, or if you just want to view them again, we do have them all up on our YouTube channel. I have Anita in the producer's booth today. I will get her to pop that link for you, the YouTube link, into the chat box if you need that. And we'll be posting all of the recordings going forward to that same playlist if you want to refer back to them at all or show them to your customers or whatever you want to do. Feel free to share away. Okay, so like I said, today we will be playing with our embossing powders. I'm going to flip us over to our overhead view. There we go. And now I'm sure you are all familiar with just embossing powders, but I kind of wanted to show you some of the cool stuff that we can do with a few of the special embossing powders. I'll get Anita to throw the link in the chat box just for the embossing powders up on EC Distributing. But of course, you all know our detailed embossing powder. Now, you may have got a detailed embossing powder trio in your mixed media sample pack box. You either got that or the trio of the sparkle embossing powder. So the detail embossing powder is super great for detailed work, like the name suggests. Good for stamping. I'll show you, like, it's just more fine crystals in the detailed embossing powder. So you can do kind of intricate stamps, like this is an embossed element, and it just adds, like, I feel like it takes cards up a notch. Instead of just stamping plain black, it looks a little more elegant when you do stamp with the Versamark and toss some embossing powder over top of that, and I love that effect. So we've also got our Blaze embossing powder, and that is this selection right here. You can see a bunch of different bright colors, and again, still I think a fine crystal there. And just bright colors with an iridescent shimmer in it. So here you can see it's some mica in there. I don't know if the camera picks up the shimmer on this little blue turtle here. But it has lots of mica in it and gives it a little bit of a sheen. And it will depend. I mean, here's 2 blues that look very similar, but one is golden sapphire and one is ruby blueberry. So they look similar, but the once you heat them up, the mica really comes alive, and you'll be able to see the either ruby or the golden mica that's in it, that kind of thing. So we've also got, let me move those out of the way. We've also got the luster polish, which is really fun, and it is more semi-opaque. Let me pull them over and show you kind of a bunch of the colors that we've got. Now, these ones are going to look a little different depending on which color cardstock or which color ink you use underneath. So here you can see this is the emerald green luster on black cardstock, and here it is on green, or on white cardstock. It comes up much more green. Oh, there it is. I was like, that is quite bright. This one's done with actual green ink with a clear embossing powder. And this is the emerald green. So it looks kind of true to what it looks like in the container. But then with the luster in it, it's kind of like the opal polish. It'll look different on different colored backgrounds or different colored inks that you emboss over top of. Now we've also, and again, all kinds of colors. Here's a really nice one. This was the Tropic Pearl Luster. And I hope you can see my turtle there. And there's just a gorgeous little green flash as it moves along. So a nice subtle effect that you could do some really cool stuff with. Now we've also got the metallic embossing powders, which are really nice. Let's see. Of course, we've got the ancient copper, the gold, silver, and this is just a standard black. What is this one? Yeah, standard black. And they look quite dull on there, but here I'll show you a sample card. And once you do apply the heat, they really start to come to life and flash and add a lot of shine to your card. So, oh, that's the bright gold, of course. Then we've got the Brilliant Sparkle embossing powders, which are quite popular. So it adds so much shine to your project. You can do something subtle, like on this card. I hope it is quite subtle, but in person, it's gorgeous. We've just stamped over top of the inked stamp. We then stamp with Versamark and apply some of the Frosty Dawn to the reflection in the water, and the white goes clear, but the sparkle does show up in that one, and it's just beautiful. A subtle little shimmer as a reflection or as snow, you can catch it on there, and it's a nice effect. So I wanted to show you how it really does come alive. Here we'll go with Brilliant Sparkle Gold, and we can stamp with any stamp. I'll just use this turtle because I have them going. Just applying my Versamark pad. There we go. It's handy to have a scrap piece of paper in case we get any loose embossing powder all over the place. And we just dust it on there. Doesn't take much. Shake them off. And dump that back in the container. You don't use much product at all. So you can see the shine already just from the unembossed powder. But I'm going to turn my heat tool on and we will see all of that melt and really come to life. So this is an effect you could get if you had that sparkle embossed trio in your mixed media sample pack, or an effect from any of the Brilliant Sparkle embossing powders. And there you go. It's not the glitter's not moving anywhere, and a really nice shimmery look. Okay, now what else did I want to show? I'm gonna scroll down here for a second. Maybe. Yeah, the ultra thick is really nice. You can get some very cool effects. So it is just larger crystals on there. So you could melt this and use it on a rubber stamp. If you had a little melting pot, you could make a little rubber stamp emboss thing by pouring the melted embossing powder onto the rubber stamp, which creates a cool effect, kind of like a wax seal type of idea. So then you have a separate element to add onto your card. Or you can use it just with a stamp. I wouldn't do any detail work, like I wouldn't attempt to stamp like that with the larger crystals, but it does do all right if you heat the paper from underneath. You can kind of keep the shape of your stamp. Not so bad. Now, where else are we? The mixed media embossing powder is lots of fun, and it is in your catalog. You can see on page 48 and 49 of your Cosmic Shimmer catalog, all the different types of our mixed media embossing powder. So they're just mixed colors and mixed granule sizes, which creates a really nice effect. And we'll do a demo with these ones at the end, but you can see there's chunks of gold and copper and black in that one. And this is, you will have a mixed media embossing powder in your Cosmic Shimmer or your mixed media sample pack as well. So this one was Iron Age, but we'll do a demo with that at the end. Now I wanted to show off well, you saw how to stamp with it with the Versamark. Again, you can stamp using, I like to use the Ink pigment. Ink is really nice for stamping. It has a slow drying time and it's perfect for embossing. So here we can apply that to our stamp. On there. Stamp our turtle and then do a nice, let's go with, we already did the emerald green. Why don't we do a little gold so we can see how it is semi-opaque. So this is I should tell you the actual name so we know what we're working with. Olympic Gold Luster. Not necessarily going perfectly with a turtle, but we'll just get an idea for the effect that it creates. So you just tap off the excess and put that back in so we don't create a mess. That's why the scrap piece of paper comes in handy. And if there's any bits of mica left after you've applied the heat tool, you can just wipe that off with just a soft towel or anything like that. So you can see as it's heating, I hope you can see the shine and a little bit of the gold coming through, but we're also still getting the color of whatever ink we've used coming through on that one. And that's with the semi-opaque color of the luster embossing powders. So there you have it. You can do a lot of cool stuff with that. Now we could do the same with the clear embossing powder, which comes in the just regular finer crystals, or it comes in the ultra thick embossing powder in clear. And I love to do that if there's a sentiment or an element that I've cut out on my card. If you cover it with the clear embossing powder, then it creates kind of like a plasticky element and it just looks really, really nice. Okay, so we've done stamping. We can also do the same with our Versamark pen, right? We have the brush tip and we have the point tip, and that's going to create the same idea as our Versamark pad. You can doodle or draw whatever you want. I'll show you on this card. I used the Versamark pen on the edges just to create that white border, and then dusted it with the white embossing powder, and that's how we get this. This was done with a stencil. So you can use a stencil with your Versamark, dab it over top of your stencil, remove the stencil, apply your embossing powder, tap, tap, tap off, and move on like that. So we can also We can also use the embossing powders. They're fun to use on our MDF elements. So here we'll do a quick one. I loved this frame, this MDF frame, the portrait rectangle. I thought would be really nice to kind of create, like imagine some rice paper on there and creating a little frame. So all we have to do is apply our Versamark to the MDF. I won't do the full thing because you don't need to sit with the heat tool for that amount of time. And here we'll do this is the bright gold metallic embossing powder. We'll see what that looks like. So flip that over. And the mixed media embossing powders work really nicely on the MDF as well. You can get some cool looks. Just tap it off. The gold is one of my favorites for demos because it's so dull until you apply the heat and it starts to really catch the light. Can you guys see it on camera? See the flash of gold there? It's a nice one to impress customers for sure. There you have it. I could have went a little longer with the heat tool. Ooh, and wait till it dries. Don't smudge it like I just did. Okay, so now we can do our next element. We've got our gold base, and I thought it could be kind of cool if we now do our gold sparkle for the little accent pieces. Cover up my Versamark. Should have tweezers for that. Versamark works perfectly. It's just tacky enough to get that embossing powder to stick. There we go. Do a quick one. You can see it brighten up just as the heat touches it. Make sure you're reminding people, or you're for yourself, Don't get that heat tool pointed right at you because it does get quite warm. There you go. So then we can just attach that, obviously with it all finished. Attach that to our frame, and you could get like a very cool vintage gold frame. I have a frame like this in my house, so I like it. Okay, so there's an MDF effect. Now I want to show you a very cool technique with some texture paste. So I'm just using the Cosmic Shimmer texture paste in clear. And let's make a little bit of room here. And what I've done is used a piece of watercolor card. And this is just from our Pixie Powder demo. Was it last week or a couple weeks ago? And I just smeared it on my craft mat, let it dry, and that's what gave me this kind of varied look. I think I used teal wash and mango blaze for this colored look. I just wanted the kind of variation in that. Now I'm going to I'm using one of the Art by Marlene Artsy Arabia stencils for this, but you can try this technique out in your shop or wherever, just using any stencil. But this is mask BM10 if you wanted to know. And then I'm going to grab my palette knife and my texture paste and my mixed media embossing powders. So we're going to do a little project here. So this is going to be the first step of the project that we're going to work on. So why don't we do this big one here? And when you're using embossing powders, it's important. I don't have my magnetic craft mat. I've somehow lost it, but it's important that you don't tack your stencil down with anything sticky. You don't want to use tape or anything. Oh, there it is. Perfect. Oh, the magic of show business. It was just handed right to me. Okay. So there's my magnetic craft mat. Comes in super handy for this kind of thing. So like I was saying, we don't want to tack your stencil down with anything sticky because the embossing powder is going to stick to that. And we don't want that. We want it to just stick to the bits that we want it to stick to, right? Am I convoluting that a bit? But whatever. Okay, so the magnetic board works perfect. We don't have to worry about anything sticking. So I've got a variety of my mixed media embossing powders, and I'm going to take my texture paste, scoop a dab, not that much, holy smokes. Okay, scoop a dab on there and just smear it flat. The magnets work perfect just to hold that stencil in place. Getting in all the little nooks and crannies. There we go. And I want to level it off a little bit just because that's the look I'm going for. But if you wanted a really stuccoed look, you could leave it kind of all ridged up and everything. Okay. There we go. Now I'm going to gently remove the magnets so that we can get that stencil off. Peel it up. There we go. See, I got a little sticky stuff on the side, but not to worry. Clean that out of the way. And this texture paste is water-based. It's super easy to clean up. You can just clean it up with some water really easily. just try and get to it before it dries, and that should help you out a bit. Okay, so I don't know if you can see it on camera there, but we've got our stencil. Now I'm going to take some of my embossing powder. This one is Ice Age, and it kind of reminds me of sand art, but I'm just going to sprinkle it onto the bits of the texture paste that I want in that color. So I'm going to do different parts of our little palace here, our Arabian palace, in different colors. So maybe I'll do that part in that color, and we're going to do one color at a time so that we don't mix all of our powders together when we tap them off. And maybe I will do these windows in that blue in Ice Age. Just one bit at a time. And then tap it off onto our scrap. Now we want to kind of flip it right upside down so it doesn't stick to any of the other texture paste as much as we can. Again, it's not an exact science for this effect, but it works pretty well. Okay, so then we want to put that back in our thing. Now maybe we'll use, this is Funky Cold Patina. I like this one. And you can see all the different colors in there. There's going to be coppers that really come alive when we heat it up. It looks really nice. It goes perfectly with this kind of greeny blue background. Maybe the tip of our palace. Okay, and why don't we do maybe these kind of windowy things in that color as well. There we go. Shake that off. Lovely. And then I'm going to take that nice dark Iron Age so that we can see kind of the difference. It really will stand out. And apply to the rest of the portions of the card. Whoops. There we go. Back in there. Now I'm going to take my heat tool and apply it with the, I find with the mixed media embossing powders, because of some of the larger chunks, I do like to heat from underneath at first, just to give them a chance to kind of melt so that they don't blow away right off my texture paste. And as the texture paste begins to dry, you will start to hear it, it'll start to kind of crackle as it cures, kind of thing. So I'm just using my heat tool underneath the paper just to start to warm it up to get those little chunks to stick in there. And then once it's going, I can come over top. And that's, I'm not sure if I can get close enough so that you can see the texture paste kind of start to bubble, but you really can hear it crackle. You can see the metals in that Iron Age. There's some silvers coming out, the bronze. Really nice effect. I'll bounce up to this blue so you can see what it looks like. Now it does take a little while longer because the texture paste is thicker, right? Versus the Versamark. You can see it start to bubble. It gives you a really nice raised effect. Gorgeous kind of mixed media look. Okay, so now I've done a couple of these and I've cut them out so I can show you what it looks like when they're finished. Let me tidy up my embossing powders a little. So I've cut them out and here you can see them shine up. That's with the same colors that we just used. And then this guy is done from the same stencil. And I used on the top the raspberry ice cream to get a little red in there and on the doors. So a nice, like almost 3D, not 3D, but very dimensional element for your card. So I thought we could do a little bit of a card with that. I'm going to pull my, maybe, yeah, okay. So I've got my 5x7 card base and I'm using some of the Artsy Arabia background paper. I've just cut it with a Creative Expressions rectangle die to be 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. So we just get that little border. So we will toss that on our backdrop or on our card base, I suppose, just with a little double-sided tape. There we go. And I will type out all these instructions for this card if you want, and I'll have them sent out to you, not to worry. Now I want to use the sand paste. I'm going to give you guys like a kind of bonus demo. The Sam Pool antique sand paste. I'm going to use it in this card. So I'm going to use the, what color is this one? The creamy mango for us, and we'll build, oops, open it, there we go. We'll build kind of like use it as actual sand in our card. But there's, I think, 8 different vintage looking colors that add so much nice texture to your card. It's water-based paste and it ends up having a sand-like texture. Super easy to clean up, just soap and water. And you can apply it with a sponge to give more of a rougher texture, or smooth it over with a palette knife to give a smoother sand texture. So that's what we're going to do for this one. So we just apply it on there. Oops, I got some sort of other pigment going on. So for this card, we just apply it to a section that we're going to cut out with that same die that we use to cut the background in our Artsy Arabia paper, collage paper, just so that we have a nice stitched edge on our sand as well. So I'm just going to make sure I cover that, and we can speed up the drying process with the heat tool. I won't put you through that again. That's enough of the heat tool for now. And then, yeah, you can smooth it on, and I'll show you how it starts. It'll go matte when it dries, but we could kind of stipple it a little bit to have more of a texture, depending on what kind of look. That kind of gives you a crackled look. stucco kind of idea. For any cards, it would be lovely with the vintage, and mix that with some rice paper to get a nice effect. But for this one, we're keeping it smooth. And I'll just wipe my knife off there. So you could speed it up, let it air dry, whatever you want. And then cut it out with that same rectangular die. We want it to be the same as our background paper, same size. And then once you have that cut out, just use scissors and just cut it to create a wavy layer, obviously. And then I've cut the top and the bottom, but we're going to use them as two bottom layers on our card that we will attach with, I'm just going to use 1.5 mil foam on here. To give us some dimension. So we've got our backdrop. And just line it up with our background piece. And then I might even make this one pop out a little bit more so we can layer our Arabian palaces in there. So I'm just going to double up my foam tape. Oh, I forgot. I want to add a little ink just to add a little bit more texture. I think I can do it without getting it on the rest of the card. Now, just a little to the edges of our sand layer. This is just a Distress Oxide, but you could use any brown. That one's going to be covered, so I guess I don't need to do too much to it. Just to add some dimension on the edges, some depth. And then I'll go on this one before I attach it. Just bringing it onto the sides. There we go. Just adds a little more texture. Okay. Let's pop that guy on. So we've got our sandy dunes going on there. Now we've done our palaces. So I might stick this one in behind. And I'll tack him down with some foam tabs or tape or whatever. There we go. And then we'll give this guy a go. I'll attach him on the front. So I've got to double up that foam. So that it sits at the same level as our double foamed front sand dune. Oops. There we go. And I want to leave room. I've stamped a little Lavinia sentiment, chopped it up, and just layered it onto some of the same collage paper. Secrets are hidden in the most unlikely places. So we could go over top of this and create kind of a plastic element with that clear embossing powder like I was telling you. So we just dab on our Versamark over that. Make sure we get it on there nicely coated. There we go. And dust on our clear embossing powder, which if you got the black, white, and clear embossing trio, you've got doesn't take much. Again, I should have tweezers to lift him up because we don't want to touch the wet Versamark. There we go. And put that back in so it doesn't blow all over. We'll do one last time for the heat tool. Oh, well, and it just kind of takes our sentiment to the next level. Here, let me grab tweezers. When the elements are small, tweezers do help a lot, just so you're not getting your fingers in there. There we go. So I won't do the other ones, but you see what I mean by just adds the shine onto that and adds a nice little effect. So we just toss it on there with some tape. Get our other ones on. I'm kind of going to keep it with the Art by Marlene look and keep it a little wonky. She always has her sentiments on kind of crooked. There we go. And then I thought to finish it off, we could snag a little genie lamp to be maybe our secret that's hidden in the most unlikely place. From the Paper Elements book from the Artsy Arabia collection. There's so much cool stuff in here. I'll give you a flip through. Oh, I didn't even see those butterflies before. And pre-cut, guys, so it's easy to grab, easy for your customers. You're not fussy cutting. I like this sentiment. I thought that could be an option too. Find magic in the small everyday things would flow beautifully with those two palaces. So you could steal a sentiment out of there. But I'm going to grab the magic lamp from there. And we can even add a little glitz of our own with some gold. We'll use our Versamark pen and just do a little kind of highlight on there. Maybe. You have to work quick with the Versamark pen. Ooh, there's a bunch. There we go. Put that back in. Find wherever I threw my tweezers. There we go. Now you can see the static was causing some of that embossing powder to kind of stick around where we didn't put the pen. And the Nelly anti-static little tool comes in super handy for that. I'm not sure if they're back in stock, but a little bit of glitz to our lamp. We can tuck it in there with our foam tape. Just need a little chunk. There's one more piece that pops out of that to get our handle free. There we go. And I better do a double piece, double up, so we're at the same level as our palace. There we go. So a fun little mixed media card that shows off a bunch of nice products for your customers. All right, so I will flip you over to my face and say thanks so much for joining me again. I hope you guys maybe learned a couple new techniques and saw some fun products that you might want to play with. And if you have a chance to play with the embossing powders that are in your mixed media sample pack, share them with us on our Facebook group. We'd love to see the work that you're doing. Our Facebook group is Crafting with Ecstasy. So I will catch you guys next week, same time, same place. We'll be playing with some of the airless misters that you will find in your mixed media sample pack as well. Okay, guys, have a great day. We'll see you later. Bye. Can I reach?